What's going on, guys? It's your boy Neeks, and I'm back with your Manchester United match preview. Wolves versus Manchester United at the Molineux. Now, for me, on the back of a very, very good and impressive win in the first match day against Chelsea, I would argue this is a real test. And I'm not saying Chelsea wasn't a test, because it's a test, and it's a test that we passed. Solskjaer passed, the team passed. But this is a massive test, away at Wolves. Wolves being one of the sides who some have tipped to break into the top 6 this season, between Wolves, Leicester and Everton. And if you stay tuned to my show on the Football Terrace, we talk about the best of the rest. I'm definitely going to be dealing with Leicester versus Chelsea. Even tomorrow on the Have Hope Football Hut, the Football Dugout, our live show from 7 p.m, we're going to be definitely dealing with that massive, massive game. But in terms of Manchester United, Wolves is a tough side. They're in the Europa League, as are we. And when I saw the fixtures, I thought, okay, we get Wolves early. It's on the back of a Europa League qualifier. They play on a Thursday. So that should make the game a little bit easier. And not that I want this game to be easier, but I want 3 points more than anything else. But Wolves won their first leg 4-0. And it meant they rested up pretty much their whole team, bar Connor Cody, maybe the goalkeeper Patricia. I can't remember if he played. So they were pretty much all rested, and then I think they brought on a couple, Jota and Jimenez off the bench, and Jota scored a wonderful goal. And they won that second leg 4-0 as well. So they are well prepared and ready for this Man United game. And I tell you, the reason why I say it's a real test, for me, it's a test to see how far we've come. We played Wolves 3 times last year. Twice in the league, once in the FA Cup. Drew the first game 1-1 at Old Trafford. In a game that, I guess we edged, but obviously we didn't do enough to win. And we're at home as well, so Wolves got a very good point there. And then we lost 2 games in a week at the Molineux, 2-1. Once in the Premier League, once in the FA Cup. And I can't remember which one exactly was first, or if it was Premier League, FA Cup. But I know the first game, we were 2-0 up. So we went 2-0 down, and Rashford got a late consolation goal. I think that was in the FA Cup. And the second game we played much better. We were the better side. We took the lead through McTominay, got a man sent off, Ashley Young, and we really capitulated after that. Wolves were all over us, hitting us on the counter-attack time and time again. So from playing Wolves 3 times last year and not being able to win 1 game, for me, this game will be a test to see how far we've come. What has Solskjaer instilled in the team? What have the team and the manager learned from, playing Wolves last year? In a way, how to beat them. I'm sure Nuno himself has come up with different plans, so it's not the same old. But we are improved. We are an improved side from last season through pre-season, and shown that in the first game of the season against Chelsea. So a win for me is imperative. I'm not going to be surprised if we draw, because Wolves are a good side. But for me, for what we are aiming for and what we're looking to do this season, we need to win. Especially, you want to keep this momentum going throughout at the start of the season. On the back of that big win, you get a draw at a side who you would expect to finish above. It takes the wins out of the sails, and questions will be asked. Because even though we beat Chelsea 4-0, we didn't dominate them in a way that a 4-0 might suggest. We definitely deserve to win the game, no doubt about that. You don't fluke a 4-0, but it wasn't as dominant as the scoreline may look. So eyes will be on the Wolves game to see how we play, whether we just hit them on the break like we did against Chelsea, or we take charge. Wolves would be probably happy if we got the possession and they can hit us on the break. But I'm much more comfortable now with teams trying to break on us than I was last season. Now we've got what I'm hoping will be a consistent back five with obviously De Gea and there's two centre backs, Maguire, Lindelof, Shaw, and then Wan-Bissaka. For me, that pace and authority at the back, I'm not worried about Wolves hitting us on the counter attack as much as I was when we had Ashley Young, Chris Smalling, Phil Jones, Eric Bailly, to an extent. I would have been more worried. But if Wolves want to sit back and let us go at them, then so be it. I'm sure we want to hit them on the break, so we'll give. I think we'll be even position. We'll give them the ball, and we'll try to hit them on the break. We've got the pace up front in the likes of Rashford, Martial, and of course the boy Dan James. It'll be interesting what starting lineup Solskjaer actually goes with, because I wasn't overly impressed with Andreas Pereira in the first game against Chelsea. I'm not overly impressed with him, full stop. Very good in pre-season, looks brilliant in pre-season a lot of the time. Set pieces, general open play, long shots. He looks very, very good in pre-season friendlies. But when it comes to the actual, competitive games, he flatters to deceive, and he really fluttered in and out of that Chelsea game. We did get an assist, but other than that, he didn't really do much. And we might need some more. So ideally for me, I would want Fred to be in this game to get, a bit more control in the midfield. We surrendered that control to Chelsea, especially in the first half. And if you got the likes of Moutinho, Neves, and then Donker in the middle, and we surrender that possession, and with the strikers they've got, much more potent than what Chelsea were able to provide, we could be in some trouble. So I think we need to grab hold of that midfield. If Fred is fit and available, and when I say fit, also a bit to do with match fitness as well, match sharpness. I know he hasn't played, but how's he looking in training? I would love to see Fred. If not, then for me, Dan James has to start over Andres Pereira. As I said, I wasn't overly impressed with him. And yeah, he might not be able to cut at Man United. That's just reality. A lot of players have come through, our academy, our youth system, and they've been good. Even Premier League players at other clubs, Danny Simpson, Kieran Richardson, these names just come to mind immediately. But it's not good enough to cut at Man United, and I fear that Pereira might be one of those. He's 23, 24, so he's not that young. Yes, he's not at his peak, but he's not that young. I don't know. As it stands anyway, I wouldn't want to see him start this game, in a game where we need a bit of strength. We need a bit of authority in the middle of the park. Pereira looks a bit lightweight, easily, thrown off the ball. Doesn't really take charge of the situation. And I know Fred hasn't really done that, but he's got the energy, he's got the legs, and he's obviously got the talent. We've seen it with Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League. He hasn't consistently done it for Man United, but at times, Barcelona at Old Trafford, PSG away, those games for me last season, he was our best player without a doubt. So we know the ability is there. It's about whether he can produce that on a week in, week out basis. So for me, I would go obviously David De Gea at the back, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, and Shaw in defence. In midfield, Pogba, McTominay, and I would go Fred. And with Rashford on the left, Lingard on the right, and Martial up front. Now, of course, if Fred isn't fit, then for me, I would go Lingard through the middle, as in a behind the striker, and in the number 10 position, and Dan James on the right in a 4-2-3-1. If we don't have that third midfielder in a 4-3-3, I fear that Wolves will have a lot of the ball, and we're going to have to be very, very strong at the back, like we were against Chelsea, and we're going to have to hit them quick and hard and fast on the break. But it's a dangerous game to allow Wolves that kind of, possession, allow their players to pick passes at will when they've got the potency of a Jimenez and a Jota up front. So it's gonna be an interesting game. It's not gonna be easy at all. But I'm going to back the boys. I'll back them to win the game 2-1. I said 2-1 against Chelsea, and of course that was 4-0. I ain't expecting a 4-0, but I think 2-1 away from home. Result that I'll take. It will send us top of the league. Obviously very early days, very, very early days. But it will send us top of the league on goal difference ahead of Arsenal and Liverpool. And for me, it steals a march on, you know, Chelsea, who are, you know, fighting for top 4. I wouldn't say Spurs specifically, even though they dropped points against Man City. They picked a point up at Etihad more than anything. And I think their place in the top 4 should be pretty much secured for me. I don't think Man United are fighting with them. I think they're more fighting with Arsenal and Chelsea. Obviously, we know there's some more news coming out of Manchester United in terms of Alexis Sanchez. It looks like, well, Inter are definitely interested in him. We know Roma were interested in him a bit earlier, taking him on loan, but I think there was an issue to do with the wages, how much we would pay and how much they would pay. Inter are definitely interested. They've made an offer. You know, obviously, we know they've taken Lukaku already, and they want to add Sanchez to that as well. So they made a loan offer with an option to buy for 15 million euros. And Man United will still pay part of his wages. I'm in two minds about this. I'm in two minds because Sanchez, his time is up. That's not in doubt for me. I have no faith that he's going to get back to the form that he was showing at Arsenal, hence why we made that transfer, that swap with Mkhitaryan and Sanchez and pay him the wages that we do. I don't think he's ever going to get back to that. So I think his time at Man United is coming to an end. It's at an end. But if we were to get rid of him, I fear that we are lacking another option up front. We know Lukaku went already, and I was comfortable with that. 72 million. Then we will leave us with 4 strikers in Martial Rashford, Martial Rashford, Sanchez, and Greenwood. That would be our 4 strikers, 3 senior and Greenwood, a youngster. If Sanchez goes, then we've just got 2 plus the 1. Very risky. We played 2 of them at all times. If one gets injured and the other one comes in, we've got no substitute striker. If 2 gets injured, we're in deep, deep trouble. Unless Sanchez is either being bought on a permanent basis this summer, or a loan with an obligation to buy, i.e. he is gone next summer, by, you know, whatever happens, I wouldn't loan him with an option to buy, because you're losing a player who can potentially offer you an option, and there's no guarantee he's going to be gone permanently. Inter might say, no, we don't want to keep him, and he rocks up back at Old Trafford next summer. Then you still got this guy who you don't really want. He's on your wage bill. So if you might as well just keep him and have him as option than to loan him out. Now, unless he's causing some disruptions behind the scene, which I have not heard any of that. I know there was talk about this whole Greenwood, Sanchez thing that happened in training. I don't think there was anything to even write. It wasn't anything to write about, because the news story was pretty much one line, and then they started talking about a lot of other stuff to fill the page. It was more a headline than anything. For me, you have to keep him unless he's gone on a permanent basis. What's the point? You loan him out, you don't have him for the whole season, you need options, then he comes back because they didn't want to take up the option to buy. It has to be an obligation, or has to be a permanent transfer, or you keep him. That's the way that I would see it personally. But yeah, his time at Old Trafford hasn't been a good one at all. 21 Premier League starts in 18 months. That's that's pretty much 1 start a month. That is poor. That's poor. Now, as I said, he might be causing distress behind the scenes, but is the fact that he's on X amount of wages and other players aren't, is that causing an issue? I don't know. Martial signed a new contract. De Gea's, well, it hasn't been official yet, but we're pretty sure he's going to sign his contract. Rashford has signed a new contract. We know Matt has signed his. So I can't see how Sanchez being there on the wages that they knew he was on before they agreed their own contracts should be causing any issue. Unless for some reason they were promised that Sanchez wouldn't be there. But I think we have to keep. I think we have to keep him unless it's a permanent transfer, because he goes, and then we're just crossing our fingers until January and hoping we don't get any injuries in that position. If we do, then what do we actually do? We'll be begging for Sanchez to come back. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Let me know what you lot think about Man United travelling to the Molineux. What the result will be. Drop your predictions below. Your starting lineup predictions below, and what Man United should do about Alexis Sanchez this summer. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, guys. I'll see you soon.